Well, I know all conservative Americans anyway know that we dodged a bullet back on Election Day of 2024, but I don't think anybody realizes just exactly how close it was. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle here with Steve Green. And gentlemen, Kamala Harris, as you know, just recently wrote a book called 107 Days, where the loss of the election was due to the fact that she only had 107 days. The thing that I don't think anybody fully realized was if she'd had 110, 111 days, she probably would have won in a landslide. And
I thought you were going to say she would have lost Minnesota.
No. That was the old thinking. That's what I used to think. That's before I saw this admission. And if you are an American-loving conservative, we all know how the story turns out. But I think this is just going to make your blood run cold.
Part of his strategy and those around him was to try and take me off our game and message. And I wasn't about to be distracted by those flames that he was trying to throw to get me away from my highest priority, which was talking to people about the economy and their well-being in terms of their financial well-being. And so I understood the game that was being played. And I made a decision that I wasn't going to get played. And
chess, not checkers. Got it.
Chess, not checkers. Yeah, three-dimensional chess. I'm telling you. You know.
Steve, guys like you and me, we thought that she was just kind of a idiot. But it turns out that the whole time she was playing three-dimensional chess by focusing on the economy. And we all remember that her big economic plan was that she was from a middle class family in New Jersey. If the three-dimensional chess had continued for another few days, do you think there would have been any escaping the inevitable landslide?
All I could picture is that a slight variation on one of my favorite classic Warner Brothers cartoons, where Kamala Harris introduces herself by handing over a business card that says, Kamala E. Harris, Supergenius. Wow. What can we say about her and the Democrats? I mean, she was maybe she's certainly the worst candidate the Democrats have nominated since Mike Dukakis, and arguably worse than Dukakis. She performed better on the Electoral College, but that's mostly due to demographic sorting that's really happened over the last 30 years. Well, the red states have gotten redder and the blue states have gotten bluer, and the purple states like Colorado have either gone one way or the other. We don't have a whole lot of purple states left. So there's the ceiling in the Electoral College is lower than it used to be. Ronald Reagan winning 49 states, I don't think we're going to see anything like that happen in our lifetimes again. That said, she lost every swing state. And something in her tiny little pea-sized, shrunken, oxygen-deprived brain thinks that if the American people had just gotten to hear her cackle a few more times, that this would have been the clincher that won her all of these swing states. And it takes a certain level, I think, of self-delusion to get into politics. A certain self-confidence, whether or not it's earned, that may be delusion and maybe not, to present yourself to the public and ask for their votes. And Harris has never won a vote outside, before 2024, had never won a vote outside of her native California. It had never happened. Her 2020 presidential campaign ended before the Iowa caucuses.
And she's maintained that perfect record ever since then.
Ever since. She did win votes in 2024, but only the votes that you absolutely expected her to get. She performed at the lowest possible level. And this conceit of hers, well, I think Bill Maher wrapped it up best. I don't know if you saw his little video podcast interview with Cheryl Hines this last weekend. But he had Cheryl Hines on the show. She's married to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and has maybe gotten a little dash of sanity since the election. I don't know. But she's talking to Bill Maher about this book, and she says, so I just read Kamala Harris's book, and Bill Maher interrupts and says, "Did you lose a bet?"
Well, Scott, I think this kind of begs the question because as you heard in the clip, after she announced her strategy, the person said, "So chess instead of checkers," and then she said three-dimensional chess. So my question to you is, what would it have looked like if she was only playing checkers?
I'm just picturing her just facing off against Spock on that, three-dimensional game board. Well, first of all, let me just say that, I thought Kamala Harris stepped up heroically and cut the legs out from underneath every potential rival for the presidential nomination in a single weekend. You remember this?
She knows how to infight.
Yeah, so she had the insider track on what was going to happen with Biden, and she then took out, basically, she grabbed all the endorsements and all the money in a couple of days by making a bunch of phone calls, I'm sure from her non-vice presidential phone. And honestly, I think Democrats looked at that and said, this is the kind of vicious snake that we need. I'm serious. Like, I think they looked at her and said, you go, you viper. Like, this is who we need to take down Trump. We need somebody who's cold, stone cold.
No moral standards or inhibitions whatsoever. Yes, exactly.
And that set the tone. But from that point on, we realized, as the old saying goes, there was no there, which I think people knew for a long time. I mean, she was chosen to join the Biden administration to make it look like they stood for something that they may or may not have really cared about, but would look good with certain select groups. And she nailed several groups. It's just a darn shame she's not a lesbian. She was able to nail
I bet her
down.
husband agrees.
Well, her running mate was.
So, yeah, that's right.
Wow.
But anyway,
Bill went there.
That and the fact that she's now playing this as if she was some sort of super genius, like Steve said. I maintain that the excuse is in the title of the memoir. 107 days is not some heroic thing. It is basically her saying, well, it wasn't my fault. She is the John McEnroe of politics.
Well, I have to tell you, I am a little disappointed and somewhat worried that both of you decided to take this topic so lightly. The three-dimensional chess is not something that you could just pull off in 2 or 3 months. This is something, to win a three-dimensional chess, you have to have a deep strategy. And she is the front runner for the 2028 election. And I just did the math, and by the time she comes around again, she's going to have had 1,630 days to have perfected this three-dimensional chess strategy. And I say we laugh at that at our own peril and consider all three of us deeply imperiled. For Steve Green and Scott Ott, I'm Bill Whittle. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time right here on Right Angle.